Hello guys, it's Trigger here, back with another video. On today's video, we're going to be tackling how to draw body proportions. Today we'll be looking at 5 major steps, which is studying anatomy, using references, stick figure drawings, basic shape, and finally application. Firstly, anatomy. Studying anatomy is figuring out how the body works, looking at the muscles, the bone structures, how everything aligns and correlates within the human body, how the eyes are positioned, where they are positioned, how the muscle works, how the body bends, etc. etc. You will be able to figure this online, but studying, searching, doing your research, looking at human figures, human muscles, and human skeletons to help you actually imagine or visualize how the body looks like, what it looks like, how it functions in the real world. The second step is using reference. Reference is a very good skill to use, researching images online, checking out the human proportion, observing and trying to draw what you see. So it's a very good technique to use. Try to draw something, looking at it over and over again and repeat it until you get it right. You can even use your day-to-day references like your family member or your brother, try to observe how his body functions, how he works, how he moves around, which areas twist, how long his body is, etc. etc. This is a very good key element and a very good habit to use on a day-to-day basis, and that's how I personally improve on art, is that I use references to, especially in areas or angles or parts of the human body that I do not understand. I try to observe the structure, learn from it, break it down. Thirdly is stick figure drawing. So stick figure drawing is building the form of the character by using the sticks as the basis for your human structure or your human form. Drawing these structures over and over and over and over until you get it right will help you in advancing and improving your human figure drawings, your poses. And once you have mastered the simple form, you can now move on to the more complex forms and complex human poses. The fourth step is unpacking the human body into basic shapes such as circles, cylinders, triangles. These structures help you to build form for the character and also to make the human figure less overwhelming and less intimidating to draw. This is a very crucial and very important step to implement, especially if you are new into drawing human figures. You should use this technique over and over and over until you get comfortable, until you build line confidence, and then you can move forward to drawing an actual human figure.
I'm going to show you how to draw characters in proportion. So I'm going to use 2 drawings, a male and a female, to show you the difference on how to tackle these drawings and how to get the proportions right. So it is said that 8 human heads is equals to the full length of a human body on average. Of course there are exceptions, but I'll use this as the standard to get the proportions right, to get it right. I'll add another layer, and then I'll draw just human figures, or circle. Let's use circle, almost oval shapes. We'll draw 8 of them here, 8 of them here, right? This will basically be like sort of our standard for drawing, to getting it right. So we'll use this as the standard. So here there are 8 human heads. So this will be the full length of the human body. So I'll squish them just on the side here. I'll reduce the opacity just a little bit, and we'll move on to the two figures. So we'll draw a male here on the side. So we'll start off with the stick figure drawing. So for the male, the head will lie right here, the body, the neck will be here, and then here will be where the joints. We'll draw circles. We'll use this arrow. Then we'll draw the arm. The arms widespread, right? So from here to here, that's where, from here to the third part, that will be almost the length of the body. So we'll draw joints and then next widen out our arm. Let's widen our arm to almost 5 here. So this will be the full length of the arms. And then for the body, we'll draw shapes like this. And then we'll draw sort of like a, if you will, sort of like a boxy shape here for right here, and move out for the leg to the legs. We'll draw like a straight shape that goes downward, and the first joint for the on the 6th line here, that's where we'll put our ankle, right? That's where we'll put our ankle and move down towards the lower part of the legs, then actually draw our feet right here. Right, so here we have a full structure of the dude. So this is the full length of the man. For the female character, we'll also implement the same strategy. So let's put her out somewhere here. Right, we'll put her out here, and then we'll lengthen out the same. We'll use the same technique, same height, same everything, except there'll be a slight difference when it comes to the arm here, and I'll show you what I mean. So when it comes to the hip, one thing is what you must realize with the female character is, from this hip we'll draw sort of like a triangle, sort of like a skirt type shape, if you will, a skirt or a half cut pyramid, if that's what you want to call it, for the hip, right? Then we'll sort of curve a bit like this. We'll draw a curve. We can do the same thing like a curve even for the male character here, but I don't think it's necessary. So we don't need to do the curve, but you can do the curve if you want to. So normally what you realize is that female have they tend to have wider legs compared to, you know, males, which normally have broader shoulders in comparison to the length of the wideness of their legs. Then for females, it's the opposite. They don't normally have broader shoulders, but they do have wider legs, or thicker legs, if you will. So to draw those hips, the female hips, the classic female hip, we'll draw that and extend it out, extend the arm, and then extend out the leg. So this will be our base. This will be our base for drawing the human figure, right? So what we do is we reduce the opacity, and then add in another layer. So here, that's when we are building our form, building our shape. So what we'll do is we'll draw, just to make an emphasis, let me use like a grayish color, and then let me change the pen. So we'll draw the oval shape head. So we're still building form at this stage as well. So we'll draw the jawline, the cranium here at the top, that straight line, and the horizontal line here, which will really be helpful when we are structuring and putting our heads together, right? So we'll also draw the neck. So what I did here is I made this structure here straight, so it's not entirely straight. So here we're just building form. So what you want to do is you want to curve out his shoulders like this to the bottom, and then there'll be you'll draw a circle right here and a circle right here, right? 2 circles here and another one here. right at the bottom. Then for the arms, the upper part of the arm, you draw like these cylinder sort of shapes as well, right? But curve them a little bit because the body is not entirely straight. So we'll do that same thing for the side here, the chest area. So you curve this part a little bit. You follow the structure in a way, but you curve it out, right? Then we'll draw this chest area, this white chest area here, to show that this is where the chest will lie, right? That's where it will be lying. So I think I made him a little bit too wide. So what we want to do is I'll squeeze a little bit of his proportions together. Just squeeze it a little bit together so that the character is not too wide, if you get what I mean. So we want him to be a bit thinner, right? We want him to be a bit thinner. So then on the joint area, we'll also draw sort of like a circle, and then another cylinder sort of shape here on the arm, and another cylinder type shape here, right? So then let me fix up the way his arm is positioned. So we draw another circle here. So I did make the other character a bit too widespread. So we want to thin him out so that it doesn't appear too wide of a character, too wide of a character. Oh, and another thing that I've made the head too. So for the male body, well, before I begin, let me thin out the characters a little bit so that they don't look off, so that they look right. So I'm gonna just squeeze these characters a little bit so that they look right, they fit in, and the proportions are good. So you can, if you're drawing it like traditionally, don't be afraid to use the eraser. Your eraser needs to be like your friend, because I hear a lot of artists saying that using an eraser shows that you're not a good artist, but actually we learn from our mistakes. So any mishap or any mistake, especially since we are flawed beings, we learn and improve from our mistakes. So firstly, we'll start off with the male's body. We'll start off with the head. From 0 to 1, that will be the head. So for now, we're just building form. Again, we are going to use shapes as well to finalize the form of the character. So let me thin out his head a bit. So this will be his head. Then I'll proceed to draw the vertical line, the middle vertical line, to separate this side from that other side, the right side from the left side. It will be good for us to place out our eyes, our nose, and our ears. And I'll also use this horizontal line right in the middle. Then I'll place out the neck. The neck is also like a cylinder shape. And then we'll brought out to his shoulder. His shoulder will also be a giant circle to make that emphasis. So the shoulders will be a bit wider. So we'll be using these circle sort of shapes to emphasize his shoulder area here. And so now what we'll do is we'll also, for the arms, we'll use these cylinder shapes. This cylinder shapes as well. On the left, what you do on the left, you do on the right. So the length of the body is similar to two heads, as you can see here in the illustration. But that is how long the body is. It can actually fit in 2 heads. And then we'll proceed to the cylinder. That shape, and also the chest area, and the hips. The male's hips are not as wide as the female's hip area, so we also use the circle for the joint. So wherever there's a joint, it's very highly recommended that you use like a shape such as a a circle. So now the character does feel a bit robotic now. It feels like an emotionless being, if you will. But all that will be fixed in the future. So what I'll do also, another correction is I'll bring in his arm inward a little bit. This sort of, you can see sort of like the sort of curve with the arm. This curve with the arm to make it, you know, a bit more natural. So sometimes you could even draw like folded arms to avoid, you know, a lot of work to your drawings. But for this tutorial, we're gonna extend his arm, are gonna be open. So the hand, as I've previously illustrated in previous videos, is that this, the hand, specifically thumbs, has like 3 bone structures like this, which allows the arm to bend. So it allows the arm to bend. So it's covered by the skin, but it's actually like 3. So we'll use squares to draw these 3 parts of the thumb, so that the arm is able to bend. And then I think that the full part of the arm will just use like a sort of square sort of shape in a way. And then what you also realize is that the thumb is placed a bit upward in comparison to the rest of the fingers. Like these fingers, the 4 fingers are placed, they draw as if they are pulling towards the ground a little bit, and the first one is a bit shorter in comparison to the middle thumb. The middle thumb is the longest, and this other one. And because of this angle, you won't get to see the last finger because of the angle. So you will only get to see just a little bit, and sometimes because of this angle, you don't get to see any. So yeah, in simple terms, this is how you draw an arm. So what you do on the left, you do the same thing on the right. So we'll proceed to do that. Copy the same thing. The 3 fingers. Alright. Doesn't have to be perfect, by the way. It needs to just make sense. So this is alright, this is good. We'll proceed to the hip. So here we'll draw sort of like an underwear sort of shape. You can see this U, there's this sort of U shape here, and then here there's this curve that separates the hip from the leg, and then we'll draw this sort of, for the thigh, we'll draw this sort of shape, this shape like this. So so it curves like this, making sort of like a cup in a way, like a cup, but a twisted cup, like an exaggerated cup, you know, which has like brackets sort of like shapes. So this is how you draw it. It's like a cylinder but exaggerated like that. So actually, even for the arm, that's how we draw. It's not flat, like flat straight, but to emphasize that there's muscles and everything inside, there's always sort of like this curve, if that makes sense. So proceed, and then for the knee, we just use a simple basic circle to separate this, the upper part and the lower part, to allow the leg to bend, right? Then we'll also do the same thing, except this time it's a bit more exaggerated for the lower leg area. So we do that, then we do that. So here we are doing it sort of more sharp, like sort of like you are drawing like a diamond, but then mixed. It's like a combination of a diamond and a cylinder at the same time, like this sort of shape, right? Then it proceeds towards 6, right? So as you can see, the leg area is longer than the rest of the areas, right? The arms is the second longest, but the leg area is way longer, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half. You see how long that is? And for the arm, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 and a half. So the leg is always the longest. It's the longest part of the human body. Actually, the longest part might actually be the spine, but yeah, that's another topic. But actually, visually, from what you can see from the front, the leg is actually the longest part. So we'll do the same thing for the leg on the right, like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So for the female character, we'll also apply the same technique, right? We'll also apply, but there'll be some slight differences when it comes to the hip and the chest area. So we'll start drawing the cylinder shape, similarly to what we did with them. So we'll do the same thing as we did with the male character, right? Then we'll proceed to draw the neck, the shoulder. But women normally don't have very broad shoulder. They have very feminine shoulder. Normally, there's exceptions, of course. However, for the most part. And then we'll proceed to draw like circles to emphasize this is where the breast will be located. Right, cylinder type shapes actually. That, of course, there are various sizes as well for breasts and stuff like that. But here we just go basic level drawing. Then we draw cylinder. The arm is also normally almost straight, no muzzle emphasis, not too exaggerated. So we're gonna go for basic cylinder shape, a circle for joints, and separating the hip. Another cylinder for the lower part of the arm. So like that. So here, that's where the differences will be, since women normally have their pelvic area here is normally wider, it's widespread compared to male ones. So we'll add that curve right there to emphasize that shape, and we'll also draw like a skirt sort of shape in a way, and then proceed forward up below, like the separating these two joining areas, the leg and the hip, like that. Then we'll go up the knees. Yeah, those are just the slight differences between females and male bodies. These are just slight minor differences. I think I might have lowered it too much, so I'm gonna take it just a little bit up, just a little bit up, just a little bit up, like that. And already you can see the distinction. You can notice the difference a little bit. Also, do that. So you could see, like, for women normally what you notice with their legs especially, but even other males are like that. But what you notice is this side is normally brackety, and then this side is almost straight, not entirely straight, but almost to create. If this happens when someone maybe has like rickets or something, so that's what you normally notice, you know, with that particular person. But it depends on, it's all genetics basically. It's all genetics. You can still use this sort of shape still. So it all depends on the genetics that person has, you know, what kind of bone structure does this individual have. And then, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right. So here, the leg are still not realistic, but I'm just building the form. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is where the leg fingers will be. This is where they will be located. So this one is normally the largest out of every other one, and this one normally is the smallest. Then yeah, this is how you build form basically. At the arms, the fingers. to below. We'll take it a bit up, just a little bit. Right. Do the same thing on the right. Yeah, we're good. And so now we already have form. I think ellipses here are a bit widespread, too widespread. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just bring them a bit to the, just a bit, so that they look more, less brackety, if that makes sense. Just bringing them inward just a little bit, so that they're not too widespread. So now we're gonna proceed to actually making them look like actual human beings instead of just basic simple structures. So properly finalize the drawings. So now we're gonna move on to building the structure and building actual form to make them look like actual human beings, right? So what we're going to do is, I'll remove this head. I can keep it for now. We can keep the structures. We'll add another layer for the line. It will still be rough, but now we are building form. We are building our avatar, our character. So here, there's a technique to get your noses and your head accurate. You get them by actually adding a third line, for example. So I'll add another layer here as a demonstration. So where the eyes are aligned, you'll add like a horizontal line like this, just below the cranium, and you'll add another one just below the jawline, right? So this will establish the position of your ears, right? You get the position of your ears and how long your nose is going to be in relation to your mouth. And also you must keep in mind that there must be sort of like a gap. There must be a bit of a distance from the mouth to the jaw, so that it doesn't look a bit dislocated. You know, the mouth doesn't look a bit dislocated. The ears, the nose, they must be aligned as well. Though normally the nose and the ears are the ones that are aligned, and the eyes are positioned somewhere around this location. And then the rest of the head, that's where you'll be actually establishing the location of your hair. And there's also, you must also leave a bit of distance, which is almost similar to from here to the jawline, so that it looks a bit more natural before you add your hair. Also, it depends on how large the hair's character is. So we can use this as our base, for example. So we'll add our eyes here. Let's say this character is, you know, normal, regular, large eye. And it also depends whether you want a stylized character or a realistic character. But here I'm not gonna go for a very realistic character. So let me start off with the laugh. So here you can establish your eye. For example, you can actually establish your eye like this. So you already have the propositions in place. So now you place your eyes and making sure that they are on the same position. So if you're this, I think it's very wise for you to start applying these traditionally before you move to digital drawings, because you must get really comfortable with the pen tool in order to do this. So practicing traditionally will also help you to get very comfortable with proportions, as you can adjust as easily as possible. So now that our eyebrow will be located here, there's also a bit of distance between the eyebrows and the eyes, but they are all ultimately aligned, in alignment with the ear. The height of the eyes and the ear are normally aligned, right? So you add your ears here on the right and on the left, and what you do on the left hand side, you do on the right hand side. So it's a repetitive thing. So if you're not also comfortable with drawing, ears, I'll do a tutorial on how to properly do ears, on how to properly do eyes, on how to properly draw noses and mouths. But in the meantime, I also did, tutorials on how to get your proportion, your head, how to draw your head in any angle. So you can look it up as well, link in the description below. So your nose structure flows with this triangle sort of shape, though it depends on how large of a nose the character has. Some characters have very thin nose, but you must use this triangle shape as your principle in a way, especially for a frontal view, you know. So here for a stylized character, I'm just gonna use simple shapes so that you guys can understand. So I'll use this sort of brackets but facing downward as your nose structure. This is very simple to save time and to also, you know, if you don't want very complicated. But what you notice with the realistic nose is that they have this sort of navel on the side as well. They have this structure on the side as well that also flows. It goes sort of upwards, but this is normally emphasized when you are shading the character. So for now, sticking with this basic shape is, I think it's recommended. So for the mouth also, there's a slight small distance, not too much of a distance, but there's a slight distance here to the mouth. And if you realize with the mouth that there's an upper nib as well, sometimes it depends if how large the mouth is or what are your values. So for me personally, I don't normally draw the entire mouth, especially if I'm gonna do line art. I'm not gonna draw the entire mouth like this, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a nib like this. I'm just gonna add a nib structure, and I'm gonna add just a line like this, and then another nib at the bottom to emphasize that this person actually has lips, right? So every other emphasis can be shown properly to when you are actually shading your characters, but it's also a stylistic choice as well. There are various ways to drawing a mouth. It's not just black and white. So, but for me, this is the method that I normally use, and we're just gonna draw a basic jaw from here. So what I've also realized is that I don't want this character to be too wide out. I want him to be a bit thinner, right? He looks a bit depressed though, but it's fine. Confused, actually, more confused. It's fine. So I didn't actually add much expression to the character right now, so he looks a bit robotic. We'll also get into character expressions and stuff like that, so look forward to that in future videos. So for now, I'll add a mouth, I'll add a jaw, just a simple wide, very wide jaw. Others have very soft jaw lines, very softer jaw lines. Others have very emphasized, very sharp jawline. But here I'm gonna go for just in between. Then we're gonna align that ear with the nose. Okay, so we'll draw this sort of shape here with the ear. Right. Now we'll proceed. We'll just add basic. I can give him like a haircut or something, like a basic cut, like that. And you can notice the distance. There's a bit of a distance from the eyes, from the eyebrows to actually to the hair. So like this, and the distance of the hair in relation to the eyes or the cranium or whatever is also dependent on genetics. Like people with hair loss or who are bald, actually the hairline is normally far back. But let's say this character here is just an average okay person, doesn't experience any hair issues for the most part. So we'll just add the hairline right here, right, and I'll just do basic hash. He didn't do his hair today, so I'll just add that small structures, but these ones are not, it's not that important for this video. Let me just make it a bit proper. So this character is very stylized, very sharp, edgy hairline, right? So now we'll draw his neck and proceed to his shoulder. I don't want to make him too masculine, but I don't also want to make him too skinny as well. So So now these are his shoulder. Shoulder areas. And how wide he is also based on how large of a character he is. Whether he's a thin, very thin character, he won't have this wide structure. It will normally end like somewhere here, right? So let's just say this character is a bit wider than usual. So what we are doing now, it's almost as if we are tracing, but we are not actually tracing. We are using this form as our guideline to draw the proper human structure. So it becomes very easy for you to actually place the human form where it's supposed to be. So here we'll create this bone structure, right? It's bone structure. Like if he's a large character, a fatty character, you won't need this bone. But let's say it's just an okay, not well emphasized character, but he's a very okay character. It's just normal, doesn't have chest or anything like that. So here I'll just draw a line like this, and then his belly button somewhere around here, right? He's just an okay character like that, right? Proceed to add the arm. So I don't want this character to be naked. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give him something to wear, like an underwear or something, or a short. Let me give him a short so that he doesn't look very decent, So I'm gonna give him a short like that. So it's also it becomes very easy for you to also add cloth to the character, but that's also a video for another time. I don't wanna keep this video very long. So I'll also get into how to place cloth for your characters as well. So I'm just gonna give this character a shot like that. Using that as a form. So it's easy now to add our legs and the position of the legs and everything, because we've already established the form. So now I'm gonna fill in the blanks like that. The arm. This arm is not. This finger is normally the longest, so you won't get to see that other side. It's like that. Alright. Fill in the knee. Now the knee also has this. You can see how now it looks decent. And now this one also looks decent as well. So now for the moment of truth. So what you also need to pay attention to is that with the leg, it's not entirely flat like this, unless the character is also very big. But there's also this bone structure where the bones meet, where the two bones meet. There's sort of like this curve, like this shape, right on the leg, just below, just within the joint. This is, I think, it's caused by the two bones, colliding together, joining together like this. So there's also this other bone here that keeps these two bones intact, right? So because of that, you get to see this sort of shape in a way. And then because of foreshortening, you won't get to see the full length of the leg since it's a front view. So you only get to see just a little bit of the side and most of the front of the leg like that, right? So you get to see just these bumps, these curves like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the fifth one like that. Just a little bit of the upper part. So this is how the leg normally looks from this angle, right? And then you'll do the same thing on the right. 1, 2, Remember, this one is the biggest and the other ones, they become smaller. 3, 4, 5, right? Like that. And another thing is the leg is not exactly flat, and then unless you are going for like a super character, like a super cartoon or something, but there is this sort of curve, this nice curve before you even get to draw these thumbs and everything, the bottom thumbs and everything. There's this sort of nice curve that goes downwards like that. It doesn't go exactly slightly down, and then you get to draw, your leg. If you want to get it right, you have to draw this slight curve like that, right? And then you can add your fingers. It looks way believable. It looks way better like that. So those are just small nitty-gritties that one has to also pay attention to when drawing legs. Alright, and now we have our form. Our character has form now. So we'll move on to the female character. I'll erase so that you can see clearly what's going on. Alright. So now you can see that the character has form. It makes sense now. It makes more sense, right? So now we're gonna proceed to the female character. We'll start with our basic structure. The two horizontal line like this, right? And then gotta align the ear, the position of the nose, the mouth, and where the eyes are going to be, like this. From that you can use this, and now you can add the eyes. So what I normally do with a female character, I add these eyelashes, like these 3 sort of shade, to emphasize that this is a female character. And I normally give them a bit thinner eyes. Right. So now it looks a lot believable. Just readjust it a little bit. Don't want the character's eyes to be too far apart as well. And then also there must be a slight distance between the eyes, right, to allow space for the position of the nose as well. So there must be sort of like a slight distance a bit from the eye to the nose, so it doesn't look abnormal. So at the eye, at the eyelashes, the nose. I'm gonna take it just a slight lower, slightly below. You can tweak things up when you don't like how the character looks. You can tweak things up however you see fit, right? However you see fit. So okay, we'll add the I'll slim so that the hairhead is not as too wide, right? So we'll add the mouth here. I mean the jaw, sorry, the jaw. I'll soften it out a bit so it looks a bit more feminine. Like that. It doesn't have to be 100% right away. It takes practice. It takes trial and error until you get it right. So you won't always get it right the first time. It will require you to have trial and error. So for her hair, I'm thinking, let me see. I'm thinking I to have hair strands falling towards the ground like this. Just small hair strands. It can be a bit curly. Also, a tutorial on how to draw hair will also be required. So we'll also get into that in future videos. So we'll do just small strands like that. Right. like this. Her hairline is a bit different, so it's more like triangular shape like that. Then her hair is very tight, and she has like 2 ponytails like this. Right. So now she looks more feminine. Right. Okay. So this is how you draw a female character. So we move down using this as our form. And here will be where the breasts are located. Like this. And her arm won't be as masculine as the male character. They normally are softer, right? So she's wearing a sort of like a beach costume in a way. So here she has like a very flat belly. And then normally what you also notice is that with their muscles, they normally have like 2 strands like this. So the other one is like the leg joining, and there's the first one for the hip like this. So but it's also dependent on genetics again, but normally that's what it looks like, right? So it's like this and like that. Like that. And this is how you get the human body proportions right. So now we're gonna flow to the bottom, then apply the very same principles we did with the male character. Right. So move to the knee. Move to the knee. Right. The leg. And this is how you get the form proportions right. This is how you get the body proportions right. So what I'll do is I'll finalize the character.
If you found this video very helpful, consider liking, sharing and subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.